Every time you open up Outlook 2016, that is after the initial setup, as we covered in the past couple of training videos on how to set up an email account, this is what you're going to be looking at. Well, if you didn't set up an email account, you'll still be able to open up Outlook, except you won't have an inbox because you don't have an email set up for anybody to send you an email for you to receive in a box or your inbox. So I want to go over this main view when you open up Outlook 2016, a brief overview, by starting up at the top and going from left to right and the top to bottom. So over here on the left-hand side, you have what's called the Quick Access Toolbar. It's called that because you can quickly access any command on it in a single click. So when you hover over a command, you can see in the pop-up, that's the Save As command, that's the Undo command, and that's the Send and Receive. So when you click on that command, it's going to send out any emails that are sitting in your outbox and receive any emails that are sitting out on the server into your inbox. And I'll show you how you can customize that by adding and removing commands to and from the Quick Access Toolbar in a later training video. And then over to the right, you have the title bar. You have the name of the folder that you're currently in or that you have highlighted over in the folder pane or the navigation pane, and it's the inbox. You can see inbox. And then the name of the data file that contains the data within that inbox or other folders there, the Outlook data file. And then if you forget what program you're in, hey, it's Outlook. And so the only thing that updates here when you're jumping around with your emails, like to another folder, like to the Sent Items, select it and it says Sent Items. And you can see down below, hooey, all the items that I sent out. Let's go ahead and go back to the inbox and keep it simple. And then over to the right, you have what's called the ribbon display options. We'll talk about that later on. And then you've got the window buttons to minimize this down to the taskbar so you can see and work with items on your desktop. And then when you want to restore it, just click on the corresponding button and it restores it. If you want to not minimize it, but just restore it down so you can see a part of the desktop, there's the button. And then of course to close out of the application entirely, click on the X. Then down below that, you have what's called the ribbon. It contains a bunch of commands that are grouped by tab. So the Home tab are the more popular commands, like when it comes to creating a new email message or other new items. And then when you want to delete those items, well, there's the delete button here. And you can see that these commands are broken up with lines, and there's a name in between those lines. So they're in groups. This is the new group for creating new things, the delete group for deleting things, to respond, quick steps. And some of these groups will have what's known as, well, that's a little teeny tiny arrow, but it's called the Expandable Dialog Box button, because there's additional commands that can't all be squozen within here, or less popular commands but are still helpful, that when you click on it, it expands and opens up another window for you to work with additional commands. Let me go ahead and close out of that. And then when you want to see other commands that are available, like when it comes to sending and receiving email messages, folders, changing the view settings for your views, and help, you can just go ahead and click and jump around to these different tabs, which is nice because if it didn't have them broken up into separate tabs, all the commands would be sitting on the Home tab, and that would probably take up about that much space on my monitor, and that's not cool. In any case, there you go. And then to the right of that, they have the Tell Me What You Want to Do, which is new to Office 2016. That it's basically an instant search box. You can go ahead and click in there and type in what you need help with, and it will either bring up the command or give you more information about the command, and we'll cover that later on. And then over to the far right, we have something different. It's the blue tab. Now it's different because when you click on it, as opposed to clicking on these other tabs, it only changes and updates the commands on the ribbon. But when I click on File, it wipes everything clean and it takes me to what's called, or is known as, the backstage, where I can go ahead and print my items off, like my email messages, my calendar, contacts, as well as customize the environment for my Outlook program by clicking on Options. And you get a list here. There's General Options when working with Outlook. Then you have for emails, you can customize your emails and how you want to send and receive, your calendar, contacts, tasks, as well as customizing the ribbon and the Quick Access Toolbar, which we'll cover later. Let's click Cancel and go back to the Home tab. And then below the Home tab, you have, again, the folder pane or the navigation pane. So when it comes to working with email messages and the folders that they're in, like my inbox for emails that I received, or that I sent, or that I deleted, or additional ones besides my favorites that are also included down below, like things that I started creating, like an email message, that's a draft that I saved that I haven't sent yet, and other folders here. So those are the folders, and then when I click on New or I open up an email message, this is the main working area where I can view and edit my email messages. And then down below at the bottom of the folder pane, you have, well, this is the folder for emails. You got the envelope. This is for your calendar. Now you can see when I hover over it, it opens up what's called a peek, gives me a little peek-see of the calendar that I can go ahead and click on it. It takes me right to the calendar. But if I want to be able to preview other workspaces without leaving the current workspace, well, you can just go ahead and do the hover, and it gives me a peek of what's coming up. Oh, apple picking's due today. Ooh, I better get out and start doing it. In fact, it looks like it's past due because it's in red. So when I'm done and I hover off of it, it disappears. So there's the hover peek. Just go ahead and hover without leaving your main working area to find out what's coming up. Like if I go back to, well, let's do emails here, and I go to the calendar. Well, what's coming up is President's Day. It says it's a Monday, so I assume, let's see, oh, the 19th is President's Day, so when I go past it, there you go, the 20th. There's nothing beyond that. Well, the President's Day isn't beyond that. It's the Monday, the 19th. Great, and I can go ahead and advance. So there's my hover peek. Now, if I want to be able to keep that up when I hover off without it disappearing, I can go ahead and right-click on any of these. And it's not working for me right now, but the show peek, when you click on it, it'll keep this up. Let's see if I can bring it up again. And it's not working for me. I think there's a bug with my Outlook program. It worked in Outlook 2013 and it worked a few days ago. So when you click on show peek, it keeps it up even when you move off of it, as opposed to not showing the peek for the hover peek. Let me right click and try it again, and oh, there we go. Hey, there's the dock peek. With it checked, it actually takes the peek and puts it over here. And let's go ahead and close out of it. Let's try it again. Let's right click. There we go. It's working now. Just had to do a little refresh. So show the peek, when I click on it and I move off, it doesn't disappear. It keeps it up. But when I click off of it, it will disappear. So if I want to be able to keep it up, go ahead and right click on it and dock the peek. And I don't want to do it for the calendar here. Let's do it for the contacts. Let's dock the peek over here without having to leave the calendar view. So I'm in the calendar view. I dock it over to the right-hand side, opens up the task pane so I can go ahead and search for people without leaving the calendar. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And let's do it vice versa. Go to my contacts. Oh, there's a bunch of fun contacts. And then without leaving the contacts, I can go to the calendar and right-click on it and say, well, show the peek, so it leaves it up so I can hover off of it, move around, then click off and it disappears, then right click and dock the peek, and it docks the calendar over to the right hand side until I go ahead and of course close out of that. I go back to the mail folder. So again, over to the right hand side is the view pane for what I have selected over here in the folder pane. And it's got an instant search box, so if I have a bunch of emails here in my inbox, I can go ahead and click in it and type in, well, boy, I have a bunch of searches before here that you can see, so it remembers my previous searches, or just go ahead and type in a new search, and it will only pull up those email messages that contain those keywords, which we'll cover later on. Like I said, this is a brief overview. So there's the folder pane, the main view pane, and then finally down at the bottom you have what's called the status pane, and it shows me the number of items that are in this folder, and it's 0. And if you want to be able to customize the status bar, you can give it a quick right click. And by default, everything's checked except for quota information. So if you don't want to be able to see like the zoom feature over to the right hand side, which I'll go over in just a second, go ahead and uncheck it. And it's gone, but I do want to bring it back. So there it is right there. So give it a good right click anywhere to be able to check or uncheck things that you want to be able to see on the status bar. Click off. And then over to the right, you got the normal view, which is the current view. Then you have the reading view, and we'll go over the reading view and the normal views later on. And then you've got the zoom feature that you can click and zoom in to be able to have like tiny text like this, be able to become larger because you're getting closer to it. Or click and drag that slider out this way so it becomes smaller so you can see things more from a distance, more of it because you're further out. Or you can go ahead when you do have an email message, click on the Zoom dialog box to open it up and actually type in numerically where you want to zoom to instead of clicking and dragging. If you can't get it to 99%, click on it. Here opens up a window, type in 99, click OK, and you'll be at 99% when you're viewing your email messages. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.